Comfort has never been easier to access than it is right now. Food arrives instantly. Entertainment never ends. Friction has been engineered out of daily life. And yet, something feels off. People report feeling restless, unmotivated, quietly unhappy, even when nothing is obviously wrong. This isn't a crisis you can point to. It doesn't arrive with panic or collapse. It settles in slowly, disguised as convenience. What makes this uncomfortable is that comfort was supposed to solve these problems. It was meant to free us, lighten life, make things better. Instead, many people feel dull, flat, disconnected, not in pain, just not alive. For most of human history, comfort was rare. Life demanded effort just to maintain itself. Hunger, cold, boredom, and uncertainty were constant forces, and because of that, meaning was often tied to struggle. Not because struggle was noble or desirable, but because it created structure. Effort gave shape to time. Relief felt real because discomfort came before it. Now that contrast is fading. Discomfort is optional. Anything slightly unpleasant can be avoided, postponed, optimized away. The result isn't joy. It's numbness. When everything is smooth, nothing stands out. And when nothing stands out, the brain stops responding with depth. This is where modern misery becomes confusing. People aren't suffering in obvious ways. They're functioning, they're safe, they're comfortable. But internally, something feels missing. Days blur together. Pleasure doesn't linger. Achievements feel strangely empty. This isn't because people want more than they have. It's because the nervous system evolved to respond to variation. Effort followed by relief. Tension followed by release. When life becomes a flat line of comfort, the system loses its reference points. The highs don't feel high. The lows don't feel low. Everything settles into the same muted tone. Comfort removes friction, but friction is not the enemy. Friction is feedback. It tells the brain that something matters. When resistance disappears, meaning weakens. Tasks feel weightless. Time feels thin. Without resistance, there's nothing to push against. And without pushing, there's no sensation of movement. This is why so many people feel stuck even when their lives look fine from the outside. Nothing is wrong, but nothing feels earned. Comfort becomes a soft cage, not painful enough to escape, not fulfilling enough to feel alive. What makes this dangerous is how subtle it is. There's no breaking point, no obvious collapse, just a slow erosion of engagement with life. People scroll longer, wait more, delay action, hoping motivation will return on its own. But motivation doesn't emerge from comfort. It emerges from contact with difficulty. When difficulty is removed, motivation has nowhere to form. The problem isn't that life is hard. The problem is that it has become too easy in the wrong places, and too empty in the places that once gave us meaning. Comfort didn't make us weak. It made us passive. When systems anticipate every need, the mind stops initiating. Decisions shrink. Curiosity fades. Effort feels unnecessary. Over time, this changes how people relate to their own lives. Instead of acting, they wait. Instead of choosing, they scroll. Instead of struggling with a problem, they replace it with distraction. Life becomes something that happens around them rather than something they participate in. This isn't laziness, it's adaptation. The brain learns that effort is optional, so it stops offering the drive to begin. This is why modern discomfort feels strange. People feel restless without knowing why. They feel pressure without a clear source. They feel bored even while being entertained. Comfort fills every gap, but it also removes anticipation. When everything is available instantly, nothing is awaited. And when nothing is awaited, time collapses into an endless present. Days feel short, not because they're busy, but because they're unmarked. Nothing stands out enough to be remembered. Memory requires contrast. Without contrast, life feels fast, shallow, and forgettable. There's another cost that's harder to notice. Comfort removes small failures, and small failures were never about punishment. They were about calibration. They taught patience, tolerance, and emotional regulation. When frustration disappears, so does the ability to sit with discomfort. Any hint of resistance now feels intolerable. This is why people abandon things quickly, not because they lack discipline, but because they've lost their tolerance for friction. The moment something feels slow or difficult, it feels wrong. The system has trained them to expect smoothness at all times. Over time, this creates a quiet form of misery, not sadness, not despair, just a constant sense of emptiness. People describe it as feeling off, flat, or stuck. They chase stimulation to feel something, but stimulation only deepens the numbness. Comfort promises relief, but delivers repetition. And repetition without effort dulls emotional response. The brain stops reacting because nothing requires adaptation. Nothing asks for growth. Nothing demands presence. The paradox is that comfort was meant to protect us from suffering, and it does, from physical suffering. But it introduces a psychological one. A life without friction feels safe, but it also feels directionless. Without resistance, there's no sense of progress. Without progress, meaning fades. And when meaning fades, people mistake the emptiness for personal failure. They blame themselves, thinking something is wrong with them. But the issue isn't internal, it's structural. We built a world optimized for ease and accidentally removed the conditions that make life feel alive. The solution isn't to reject comfort completely. It's to understand where comfort belongs and where it doesn't. Comfort is meant to be a reward, not a constant environment. When comfort becomes permanent, the nervous system never registers completion. Effort no longer leads anywhere. This is why people feel unmotivated, even when they rest. Rest only works when it follows meaningful strain. Without strain, rest becomes stagnation. What actually restores motivation is not intensity, but friction in the right places. Small, chosen difficulties. Things that require patience, tolerance, and presence. Not punishment, not hustle, just resistance that signals to the brain, this matters. When you struggle toward something voluntarily, the mind wakes up. It starts tracking progress again. Time regains texture. Effort feels purposeful instead of draining. This is the part nobody tells you. Meaning doesn't come from comfort or from suffering. It comes from engagement, from being slightly uncomfortable in service of something chosen. When everything is easy, nothing asks for your attention. When something resists you, it pulls you into the moment. That pull is what people are missing. Not motivation, not discipline, contact. This is why simple acts can feel strangely powerful. Walking without headphones, cooking instead of ordering, committing to something slow, staying with boredom instead of escaping it. These aren't productivity tricks. They're ways of reintroducing friction, and with it, a sense of agency. The brain doesn't need more stimulation. It needs fewer exits, fewer ways to avoid the moment something becomes uncomfortable. Comfort didn't ruin us. Misplaced comfort did. When ease invades everything, life loses its edges. And without edges, there's nothing to grip. The goal isn't to make life harder. It's to make it real again, to allow effort to mean something, to let difficulty shape experience instead of being erased. That's where motivation quietly returns, not as a feeling, but as movement. So what do you actually do with this in real life? Not a system, not a routine, one clear shift. You stop asking how to feel motivated and start choosing where to allow discomfort back in. Deliberately, intentionally, quietly. Not the kind that overwhelms you, the kind that asks something from you. Something slightly inconvenient. Something you can't escape immediately. Start by removing comfort where it replaces engagement. Not everywhere, just one place, 1 hour, one habit. Walk without headphones. Eat one meal without a screen. Sit with a task for 10 minutes without optimizing it or switching away. Don't rush to make it pleasant. Let it feel slow. Let it feel awkward. That friction is the signal. That's your nervous system waking up again. Then do something harder. Finish something small. Not efficiently, completely. Close the loop. Write the paragraph and stop. Clean one space and leave it clean. Make one decision and don't revisit it. Modern life leaves everything open-ended. Burnout feeds on that. Closure restores energy, not rest. Completion. Most people try to fix emptiness by adding more content, more stimulation, more plans. Do the opposite. Subtract exits. Remove the instant escape routes that appear the moment effort begins. The phone, the tab, the background noise. Stay just long enough for resistance to turn into presence. That moment is uncomfortable. It's also where meaning starts forming again. This isn't about discipline. Discipline implies force. This is about permission. Giving yourself permission to feel bored, slow, frustrated, without immediately solving it. Those states aren't problems, they're thresholds. Cross them often enough, and motivation stops being something you chase. It becomes something that follows you, quietly, naturally, because you're no longer living entirely inside comfort. None of this requires a dramatic change. There's no reset button, no perfect system waiting to be discovered. What changes things is how often you choose to stay present when it would be easier not to. How often you let effort take its natural shape instead of smoothing it away. Meaning doesn't return all at once. It returns quietly, in small moments of contact with something real. Comfort will always be available. It's built into everything now. The question isn't whether you use it, but whether you let it replace engagement entirely. A life without friction feels safe, but it slowly empties itself. A life with chosen resistance feels alive again, not louder, not faster, just more real. If something here resonated, don't turn it into a plan. Just notice where you're escaping effort without realizing it. And once in a while, stay. That's enough. That's where things begin to shift. If this way of thinking resonated with you, you might want to stay around. This channel is for people who feel this quiet disconnect and want to understand it. not escape it. You can subscribe if you want to keep exploring these ideas over time. And if this video felt useful, liking it helps more people find it who might need it.